Thank you so much for joining us. Once again, this is week 5 of our A Year of Hopes and Dreams and Connections webinar series. This is the finale of the spring series. Thank you to those who have joined us over the course of the entire series, or if this is your first time, we do have these recorded, and I will share the link to the recordings here shortly. But today, specifically, I would like to welcome Melinda Hill, one of our terrific family and consumer science educators from OSU Extension, Wayne County specifically. Melinda is here to discuss with all of us budgeting for the journey, financial wellness for hopes and dreams. And just before we get started, a few housekeeping items. If you have any questions for Melinda during the course of her presentation, if you could, please use the question and answer box at the bottom of your screen, and I will either answer them if I am able as they come in, or of course, given Melinda's expertise, we will wait for her for our Q&A session at the end of her presentation. Any technical issues or questions for myself about the series as the moderator, if you could please put those in the chat box. I will, of course, do my best to answer. If you need closed captioning during this presentation, please click on the closed caption button at the bottom. We do have our wonderful closed captioner here today with us as well. And finally, as I mentioned, this webinar is being recorded and it will be posted by the end of the week to our website, which I will, again, share that link in the chat box here in a moment. So with that, I am going to go ahead and hand it over to Melinda.
Well, thank you so much, Rebecca. I really appreciate the opportunity to share with you in this series, because I think there's been lots of great information. And when we think about financial wellness, sometimes that's not a favorite topic of conversation, either because you think, hey, I got this, it's all down. Or other times it's like, I'm not so sure that I don't know where to go. I don't know how to improve. So let me just offer that it's a great reminder for all of us. And as we proceed, I hope that you will find some information that you can utilize. So when we think about our last week, Patrice did a great job of sharing with us how to be in the moment, just to enjoy the journey. Sometimes that's just closing our eyes and being able to absorb the sights and the sounds that are around us, calm our racing thoughts, and bring it back to the moment. And to think about how I can really care for myself and offer some of that, I like this, the self-compassion. So what is it that you might have done from last week until now to be able to really take care of yourself? Maybe it was connecting with some of others, surrounding yourself with strong relationships and those that lift you up, those that offer you unconditional love and support with some of the challenges that we may have in life. And looking to our future, what do I really want my future to look like? And as we roll along today, how do I use my resources so that I'm not stressed, I'm not worried, I can have confidence and or comfort in what my future might really look like? So all of those are points that I hope that you ponder and hold tight as we continue on. Because the question I'm going to start this off with today is, how much money, how much money do you really need? Have you ever really asked yourself that question? How much money do I really need? Maybe not want, but need. And many times, if I look at this, the answer would be just a little bit more. And if you ask those that are very wealthy, they're probably going to say, just a little bit more. Because no matter how much money I have, I'm going to find ways to be able to spend it. I'm going to find places for that money to go. I would just like to offer that I'm not sure that money is always the answer. The key lies in how we plan and then how I actually choose to spend the money that I have. So as we go along today, the mile markers in our journey are going to be, we're going to talk about what our financial goals look like. And maybe I've never made financial goals before. Maybe I don't really know what that looks like or how to implement them as part of my overall budget. Or maybe, they're just like my New Year's resolutions. They kind of go out the window by the middle of February because I don't feel like I can be successful. Well, hopefully I can give you some tips to be able to make that work. And then when we think about tracking your spending, realizing where my money is at. So at the end of the day, or maybe I should say the end of the week, or every 2 weeks, could you actually tell me or tell yourself where every penny is going? Or do you get to the end of the month and go, I thought I would have a whole lot more money left in my account because I paid my bills and I had X amount of dollars left over, and now it's not there. So where does my money tend to slip through my fingers? And then let's not forget about our savings plan and our spending plan. Ideally, we need to put money away in our savings accounts before we start to pay the bills. Because you and I both know that if I wait until the end of the month or the end of the pay period to be able to put money away, what happens? Somehow or another, it's found a place to go other than putting it to be saved. So those are the things that I would like to try and accomplish here in our few minutes together. And while nobody really likes to talk about a spending plan, I hope that this analogy might be helpful. So it's a gray day in Ohio, right? Let's pretend that we're going to take a trip to Florida. Warm air, sunshine, maybe beach, maybe palm trees, maybe whatever vision comes to your mind. But we're all going to take a trip to Florida. And in order to do that, we need to think about what kind of vehicle are we taking? All right. Am I going to take one that gets really good gas mileage, or am I going to take one that's larger that can be more comfortable and I have family members that are going along with me? And am I going to go the expressway so that I can go the speed limit and get there as fast as possible? Or am I going to take the scenic route and get off and enjoy some of the scenery or other spots on my trip down? Who else going with me? Am I taking my family? Am I taking my friends? Am I going by myself? Who is going to be on this journey with me? And of course, we have our food and our rest breaks and hotel stays and overnights. So those are all additional considerations that I need to take into account. So all of those decisions are going to be based upon some of the values that I have, some of the things that are core to me and how I make my decisions. Are they things that I really need, or is it just the things that maybe some of the wants thrown in there as well? And of course, my co-spenders are going to be along, if they're going with me on this trip, their input is going to make a decision or influence my decision about some of the items that I may choose, some of the choices that I make. So if we use this analogy, can I say, if you went and got in your car right now and headed south, all right, so you pull out of the parking lot and you head south, are we going to get to Florida? Well, you might be able to read the road signs along the way and end up maybe in the general vicinity, but I am guessing that there's going to be some wrong turns. There might be some delays and detours and overall frustration. But if you used a road map or your GPS or tablet or whatever method you chose to help you get to the right destination, you're going to have a whole better experience and end up exactly where you want to be. So if we look at my spending plan as a roadmap, as a guide to help me get to where I want to go and to be able to use the resources that I have to be able to reach my financial security, I hope that makes sense. I hope that you go, I never really thought about it that way, because it can be an overall help. So the next question we're going to ask is, where's your money taking you? Or where do you want your money taking you? Those are really two different questions, and they may not be aligned. But if I break this down and say, step by step, I can align my spending with my goals and figure out where I want to be. So I can use that roadmap, make my goals, whether I'm talking about them on a short term, very short term, by the week or by the month, or by the year. And part of that, you may need to ask yourself the question, how often am I paid? How regular does the income arrive to help me make this overall plan? Do you have a weekly allowance that helps give security that all of your obligations are going to be fulfilled? Can you get to the end of the month and not feel stressed about paying all of the bills with? And what about at the end of the year? Am I satisfied with the savings and or investments that I have that gives me financial security for the year? So if you're satisfied with the way that your spending plan looks, then you may only need to make minor changes. But if I look at this and go, wow, I'm not sure that my spending is really getting me to where I want to go, then I hope that as we continue here, there will be little things that we can start to implement that you can help to feel successful. So I'm sure that not all of us are graphs and charts people. I'm also sure that there's some of you that are listening that love Excel and love spending plans, that you can identify exactly where your money is going and how to keep track. But looking at your bank account and just identifying the money as it comes in and the money as it goes out, that's not really a spending plan. That is tracking my spending. That is a way for me to be able to know in a big scheme of things where my finances stand, but it's not necessarily a budget, a spending plan. So as we look at this in practice, I want to be able to identify what those limits in each category might be. And in order to do that, then I need to know where I'm starting. So if I begin to track my spending, some people can just look at their app on their phone or log into their bank account, and you can see where I've used my debit card or credit card in these transactions. And I have a pretty good idea of where that's at. However, I may not have the ability to categorize all of those. Some of them may be more or less generic. So I would encourage either on your phone or a calendar sheet, or maybe it's just a notebook. Challenge yourself for 1 week and then take it to the second week, and ideally a whole month, to track your spending. How much am I really spending on coffee? How much am I really spending on food away from home? How much am I spending in a variety of categories that can tell you where your money seems to be going? Once I know where my money is going, then that's when I can begin to make some changes in my overall budget. Now, we know that if you have worked with spending plans before, that we end up with technically 3 major settings. I have my fixed expenses, which are those expenses that are expected the same amount month after month after month. So my mortgage, my rent, maybe my utilities, maybe my loan payments, vehicle payments, whatever. Those are my fixed expenses. My flexible expenses, well, those are a little different because I've got some choice in how I might spend those dollars, though they're all necessary. I'm still going to need to have some gas to be able to get to work, but I might not do as much extra travel. Or maybe going to the grocery store, I don't have as many items on the list. So I have choice in some of my flexible expenses. And then, of course, we have occasional expenses. For those that may have a birthday this month, the license plate renewal, or maybe your driver's license renewal. Those are occasional expenses. They don't get lumped into our overall spending plan on a regular basis, but I have to have some money set aside for those things that come up once in a while. I might be able to put birthday events in there, or maybe an evening out with friends. Maybe that's an occasional expense. Maybe it's insurance expenses. So your definition of that might be different than mine, but looking at it so that I say I have money set aside in a special place so that I know when those expenses arise, they can be accounted for in my budget. So my question to you, and we talked about this briefly at the very beginning, about having our spending plan and having our savings plan. So the question here is, are my savings accounts and my emergency fund or my emergency account, are those the same thing? If you want to, you could drop that into chat. But I would venture to explain that we can use our savings account as that pot of money that I can plan for. All right. So it might be something for a vacation. It could be something for home renovations, a special event that we're planning for. Could even be something a little larger, like a new car or a lawnmower. Something that I can put money away in a regular place where I know it's kind of out of sight, out of mind. But it should also be that place that when I have those events in life that arise, and we all have them, that I know that money is there. Unlike kind of the term emergency fund, that should be the place where I only go to if I have a loss of income. All right. So let's say I'm between jobs and it's going to be 8 weeks from one paycheck to the next before everything gets set up. I could use my emergency fund there, and I know I'm not going to fall behind on any of my other bills. Maybe it's a medical emergency and I don't have enough sick time, but I know that I have the funds there so that I'm not going to fall into delinquency with any of my other obligations. So in short, a savings account and an emergency fund are two different things. If possible, we'd like to think that in my emergency fund, I could have at least 3 months of my fixed expenses so that I could pay those and not worry about losing my home or losing my car. If you have questions on that, we can talk about it later. So you look at me and go, all right, Melinda, I understand that that could be a very lofty goal. So how am I supposed to do that when I don't have a lot of wiggle room in my budget as is? Well, we're right. But I'm also tempted to say our money slips through our fingers like sand sometimes, and we don't realize where our money is going. And I call these our temptations. We're faced with them all the time. And we have those individuals or places or things that we do that sometimes I don't pay attention to how much money I'm really spending. So recognize your triggers. Maybe it's certain places when you go, a hobby store, a home decoration store, this time of year, a garden center. Where is it that I'm really tempted to spend more money than I should? And maybe it's people. Oh, I love going out with my friends too, but they tend to influence me to be able to spend more money than I should right now. So learning to say no is a really important skill, not only for ourselves, but to help our children and our grandchildren understand what that might mean. We can also align that with wants and needs, but that's another topic for a different day. When I think about sometimes at the end of the day, I'm just really tired and I don't feel like cooking. So food away from home is what I choose. What I have to understand is for every choice, I end up with a consequence. So as the question here, what tempts you in some of your spending? If you want to, you can write that down. Because I'm guessing, again, by time of year or people or places, you might find some of those triggers in your own life. Your spending plan can help you keep that in check. I've only got so much money. If you want to take what's left after you have your fixed and your flexible bills paid, use cash, put it in an envelope and identify that this is all the money I have to be able to spend with some of my hobbies or some of my temptations as items. Keep your credit purchases to a minimum unless you can pay them all off at the end of the month. I realize there's points. I realize that there's lots of ways to be able to use credit. However, I also realize that if I'm putting a pizza on there and not paying it off at the end of the month, I could be paying $40, $50, $60 for a pizza. And I think that most of us would identify that that might not be the best choice. So if I can keep the items that I will be consuming off of my credit card, that might be a guide in being able to move forward. So let's think about your journey and your choices. So the question I'm going to ask is, your spending helping to reach your goals? Or do I end up, instead of having this straight road through life to be able to get from point A to point B, do I have a lot of detours? Do I have a lot of choices? And how am I really going to get to that end goal? So that piece of paper I had you gather at the beginning, why don't you write down where you would like to be with your money, what goal you would like to achieve by the end of next month, okay? We're almost to the end of this month. By the end of next month, How many paychecks do you have between now and then? How much extra wiggle room do you have in your budget? Do I want to pay off a credit card bill? Or maybe do I just want to add to my savings account? Maybe there's a special event, a graduation party or prom or another event in life that I need to help assist with to be able to reach that goal. How do I begin to reach that? Again, our goals really matter. So if I look at this and say, Melinda, let's talk about some ways to be able to save some of the money that we have. Taking care of what we've got right up front is probably one quick way that I could consider. Clothes that have missing a button or mending might be a good place to start. What about vehicle maintenance or seasonal maintenance? Can you learn how to do that? Or maybe it's something that you can barter with a friend or neighbor. I think that most of us would probably say, all right, I'm a good shopper. I look for the sales. I use some of the coupons when I can. I may even use a list when I walk into the store, and all of those are great ways. But I would advocate to also set a limit. Back to that budget, I need to set a limit. So it's not just making a list and walking in, but saying I'm only going to spend X amount of dollars while I'm here. And if I do that at the grocery store, then carry that over to any other store that you're going into. And as I'm talking through this and sharing it with my family, then you can help them identify some of these goals and ways to be able to track their spending and save. If I am considering the cost of convenience, food away from home or convenience foods are obviously going to be a little bit more. So maybe I can make it at home instead of purchasing it and paying somebody else. Oh, well, we all have a lot of extras in life. And while I'm sure this is a family, think about how many of whatever you have. How many do you really need? How many coats? How many boots? How many shoes? How many umbrellas? How many do you really need? And can we make do with less? Can I make my own cleaning supplies? Can I stretch what I've got to be able to make do so that I can use the dollars that I might have used to make another purchase? I can put that towards my financial goal. Don't forget, as we are thinking about this, our lifestyle accounts. You still have until the end of the month to be able to spend $125. What could you do with $125 to be able to help you reach some of your financial goals? When we think about writing it down, it's just a really important practice. So define your goal. Put a timeline to it. I'm not going to go through the steps of SMART goals, but we've talked about those in this series. So make it specific, make it something that's attainable, that it's going to be realistic. I have a passion for it. It's going to work. Then write it down. Put it on your note cards, put it on in your wallet, put it on the door as you walk out, put it on your car visor so you're going to see that this is what I want my money to do for me in the next few weeks. Track your spending, figure out where your money is going so that you know what you can change so that I have my spending and my savings plan that will ultimately help me get to whatever my journey, my financial journey might be. And hopefully we can all end up in Florida where we would like to enjoy that warm sunshine and sand. So thank you very much. I think that does it for me. Are there any questions?
Just giving it a moment here. Don't have any questions right now, but while we give folks a moment to possibly type questions. Just a couple series ending announcements. And I guess I should have said thanks, Melinda. Thank you so much again. Wonderful presentation. And again, thanks to everyone for attending today. Those who have attended or wish to view all of the 5 presentations in this series to be eligible for raffle prizes, we are asking that you complete all 5 knowledge check surveys. Sorry, that's a mouthful. By 11:59 p.m. on March 29th. We'll be doing some processing on March 30th. And the links to both the recordings as well as the surveys are found at that link there. That's on the screen. And everyone will also receive a survey here in a few minutes with that link as well. If you are not sure how many surveys you have completed, all series registrants will be receiving an email from Josh Wynn. It's win.50 this Friday showing how many you've completed and how many you need to complete in order to be eligible for those raffle prizes. And so with that, I'm going back to, it doesn't look like we have any questions. So I guess in the interest of time, it is 1:01 p.m. Oh, wait, we just got a couple here. Oops, sorry, they're in the chat box. I was looking at Q&A. So in the chat box, let's read the first one. For the lifestyle account, does the receipt have to have the 4 credit card digits somewhere? I bought a yoga pack of 18 classes. The receipt was emailed. That's a great question. I don't know.
That is a great question, but
I don't know. Sorry.
I'm only basing this on some of the responses for people here in the office, and I don't think so. I think just the receipt to show that it was purchased would be sufficient. But you might check with them before you, as you submit it as a follow-up. They're really great to answer phone calls.
I don't think my receipt had it, to be honest. Didn't have my 4 digits either. So, and then we have another question. How do you set financial goals when your bills are more than your income? For me personally, it's daycare. I feel you on that. And I make too much to qualify for financial assistance.
Oh, and that's a really tough one. And you're right. Childcare is one of those expenses that just, yeah. So ultimately, we have 2 choices. I either increase my income or decrease my expenses. So there's not a lot of wiggle room with that. If there are no options to be able to increase my source of income, the additional income, then I've really just got to take a very close look at my budget, figure out where my money is going and what other ways can I cut. Typically, looking at those flexible spending accounts in there, what my flexible expenses are, that's the way that you can find most often a few extra dollars.
All right. I think that's it. So we are at time. And once again, thanks so much for today. I appreciate it. Thanks so much, everyone, for attending.
Thank you.